welcome.
We're going to get better at this.
We are. Welcome to the Unbroken Podcast with Chris.
Mel. I'm not ready. Sorry.
She's never ready. We have guest Meg Fess.
Hey.
And you brought friend.
Me. Sara.
Sara. I all of a sudden forgot your last name, Sara.
Rice.
Like Jerry.
Or the
Vanilla. No.
vanilla.
Rice.
Vanilla rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
rice,
work.
Baby.
But
make it work.
yeah. Well, we've asked Meg to come on. It's been I've been friends with Meg for a long time. And so we wanted to bring Meg on. And this is our first time wave to the camera.
Hey.
First time video podcasting. So we don't know what angles we're using or utilizing. And this is our first time with these microphones right in our face. Yeah.
That's why he wanted us to sit up straight.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, that's why the mics are so far away.
Yeah.
It's because he just wanted us to look nice.
Yeah. Posture.
Posture.
So there's a lot of new moving parts. And so if we seem kind of like all over the place, it's because we are.
Yeah.
But we want to give a shout out. I'm repping the Grill Guys.
There you go.
They're our sponsor. They picked up our hosting for the whole year.
Cool.
And so wanted to shout out Skylar and Charlie. You can actually go get these shirts and different shirts and hats and swag at the Grill Guys. You can go to their store. Their e-commerce store. You can get their rubs. I'm using my hands a lot more.
You are. You're using your hands a lot more, and you're looking at the camera.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm just like, what's he looking at?
Hello. But yes, Skylar, Charlie, go in there. Let them know the Unbroken Podcast sent you. Get your rubs and sauces and your barbecue grill stuff. Like, honestly, you can never go wrong with a big green egg. So.
Yeah.
And then Mel, accountability. Have
I
you gotten your
know.
flat top?
I have not. I tell you what, it's been a crazy couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me the other day how long I've been my own boss, how many weeks, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Well, Jen, I saw a memory a year ago is about when she started Virtuosity.
There you go.
So she's been doing it for a year. So
That's nuts.
yeah. So,
What?
Yeah, I know. So time
That's
flies.
crazy to me.
But
Wow.
anyway, I'm using my hands again. I'm going to be thinking about it the whole time. But go to the Grill Guys. Go say hi to Charlie. Go say hi to Skylar. And give them a high five from the Unbroken Podcast.
There you go.
We got Meg and Sara. So my sister's name's Sara. So I have lots of different variations of saying Sara in case.
So get ready.
Yeah.
No H.
No H. Hey.
No H.
No H. Like that's probably like a cheerleader thing. But Meg, welcome.
Chris. Hey.
So Meg, we've been friends for how long?
Oh man, I started coaching at CrossFit 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, moved to Republic in January. So somewhere in that
Somewhere
vicinity.
in that. And we instantly became friends. And
Right off the bat.
we also did a competition together.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd be like that, like
Which
for how
one?
long? We did
Oh, that one was at the lake.
Lake of the Ozarks.
Oh.
Which is it?
I know which one. I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember the name of it.
It's the Lazy Gators, the
Gator
Gator Games.
Games.
Gator
Yeah.
Games. Yeah.
That was
And that was they had to move it last minute because of a storm, so they had to move
gosh.
locations, and
Wow.
then they had to like change events, and it was like no fault of theirs, but
Well, yeah.
you had how old was your
Oh, Lord. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe like a baby
Yeah, still a baby.
Still a baby. We were just jumping in because we wanted to do something fun together, I
but
think.
like we were just like I had a whole bunch of stuff at home, and we were doing the competition, and it finally got to a point where like, okay, you guys are gonna go again, but like at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at night, and we both are like, do we really want to do this last workout?
Like, wait, do we have to?
And so we dipped out.
Hey.
We were sitting solid middle.
They moved it
Like we
so
weren't in the
late.
top 10. We
No.
weren't in the top
You just gotta
bottom.
make that call sometimes.
And we're just like, hey, our families really want us home. So,
We made the right call.
but yeah, for a long time, we'd always be like, hey, teammate, and we'd high five.
Yeah. Oh, I miss those days.
Yeah, the good old days. So, but I ran into you. I started working out at TR Fitness, and I came in and worked out, and then you just stopped coming in for like a few months.
Yeah.
And
It
I was
was-
like,
Just
okay, I get
disappeared
it.
on you.
I get it. Like, you don't like me.
You probably did. I literally had that thought. I was like, he probably thinks I am avoiding him at all costs.
Yeah.
It was the day you came in, and then I was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rob, even I came in and signed up, and he was there, and you even like text me. You're like, okay, BF, like we're gonna work out together because you work out in the mornings, and then you disappeared.
Yeah. That's
But-
been probably the normal for a while when it comes to the gym.
So-
But there's an explanation.
Yeah, let's not bury the lead, but let's give a little history. Is that bury the lead or Par- put the cart before the horse?
I don't, something like that. Chicken before the egg.
I
I don't know.
The Macarena before the. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good try.
It was
Meg.
like.
We're
we're back to
going in
Meg.
some circles here,
Yeah,
but
we
I
are.
love them. Love these circles.
But how long have you been working out? Like how long has fitness been a part of your life?
Oh, yeah. So my first workout, it's very appropriate that this just happened, but Murph was actually my first
Wait,
CrossFit
hold on.
workout. Yes.
So you're just like, I'm gonna go do one of
Yeah.
historically one of the hardest workouts.
I had no idea what I was walking into. I actually lived in an apartment right next to CrossFit Provision, and I just remember seeing these people always running, and I was like, I'm gonna jump in here, and
So you dropped in. You didn't even have a friend invite you. You dropped in on Murph.
yeah, which I didn't know Murph was happening, and
Right.
so you really find out pretty quick what you're made of either you're gonna love this CrossFit thing or you're gonna hate it. And so
Yeah.
I came back, so that was testing, but I will say it was definitely a couple weeks, and Rhabdo crept in there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
if
low-
you
So
were.
no one told me about that.
Yeah,
But
low key like
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper pee.
yeah. So is my arm supposed to be this swollen when I work out? Are you peeing blood?
Yeah.
So that was fun. But no, I fell in love with CrossFit after that, and so that was 2013. So
Yeah.
Early adopter
yeah,
over here.
really-
Did you work out much before that, or is just like has fitness always been something that you done? Or
Well, I was always an athlete. So like I always was an athlete throughout high school. Got into college. That wasn't going to be something that I could probably handle trying to be an athlete and do school. Barely did school. So, but I ended up just I was a runner. Like after that, I didn't really do a whole lot of weightlifting. So coming into CrossFit was a total new thing for me.
you had a lot of body awareness because of just being athletic and running and stuff, but you're just like lifting weights. That'll make you bulky, and so,
I was worried, like that was something I was super worried about. But honestly, I'm either just gonna have big arms or
Yeah.
they're gonna be fit toned arms. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to pick which one you're gonna kind of want. And honestly, I loved the way like when the traps came in and the delts came in, I was like, yeah, this is great. This
Yeah.
is the way my body's supposed to look. So
yeah, that's what I tell my girls all the time. Strength is beauty. You know, it's like the fact that my daughter has a 25-inch vertical, standing vertical as a 14-year-old.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
But like, so you're athletic, but you found weightlifting. And like, was it besides Murph, was it like immediate, like you loved it, or?
Well, I loved it, but I loved it because of the community.
Yeah.
Like I fell in love with just the way people cheered you on and the way they were behind your back. And it was this thing where you could show up and people were excited to see you, and you kind of made this little knit family
Yes.
Yeah.
within your like time frame. And then if you were gone, people noticed, So
Yeah.
it was good. It was
Yeah.
nice to be like missed and wanted and kept accountable. So I loved that aspect
Yeah,
of it more
that's-
than anything.
That's why I always tell, like, you go to CrossFit, you go at the same time, you make friends, like even though that Jen and I aren't really active at CrossFit, Jen goes still, but like I'd say about 80% of our social circle is from the 10 plus years, 11 years of us being involved in that community. And then the great thing is like I can go out in the wild, I call it the wild, like the community, and like walking through Walmart is just like, hey, because you're so much a part of people's lives. And so, so you're active, you started doing CrossFit. How long was it before you're like, hey, I'm going to try this coaching thing?
Oh, man. I started CrossFit 2013. And so I think I went to Mayhem and got my level 1, I think 2015. So
Okay.
maybe like a year and a half. I actually did my first CrossFit competition at HOA, like I think 3 months after I started CrossFit.
Nice.
So, and I got asked to do an RX competition. Could not do a pull up.
Yeah.
You look athletic.
Learned
How about you?
Learned how to do the pull-up.
Was that still when it was at the convention center?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was it when the ice was still like they put or is it without the ice out on the floor?
Where they did the ice? What do you mean the ice? Like
so they
did the
put
rink?
like plastic on top of the rink.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first time I competed the year after that or the year before. Anyway. So yeah, the convention center, it was different.
It was so different. Yeah.
And like you were just like, so what? Were you always the kind of person that was just like, hey, do you want to do something? And you said yes, or is that something you had to like?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I didn't like have the fear of missing out, but I was young. I was doing this new thing. I had this new group of people, and it just was exciting. And the reason I started CrossFit and I jumped into that was because I had found pictures of my grandma. I know this is weird, but she looked beautiful, and she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at myself, and I was just like, is this the way I want to look back on my 20s? Because I was not healthy, and I hadn't been putting all my effort into just self-care. And I remember just being like, I only get one shot at my 20s. Like, I only get my one shot. And so it was just this push to be like, you need to push yourself outside. You're not going to have a body like this forever. Your body's not going to rebound like it always does. Yeah. And so I just said, I'm going to jump in, and I just jumped in and had fun with it. So
your why was pretty big.
Yeah.
Was that when did you see those pictures while you started doing CrossFit, or is that kind of like a catalyst for you to like, I need to actually find something and do something?
Oh, that was the catalyst. And I mean, my grandmother, she was beautiful. She was fit. And I just was like, I don't want to look back on this and just regret not giving it my all, Yeah.
And we don't even have to get into this. I've known you a long time, but you kind of had a party lifestyle back in the day too. And but you did. Found faith and really changed a lot about you. Was that in that same time period?
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of crazy. During the beginning part, when I first started in 2013, I actually had been baptized earlier that year in February. And so that HOA was actually one of the nights we had actually gone downtown after that. And I had been that 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the Lord, that lukewarm kind of, not really pursuing the Lord with everything I had. And I went downtown that night and just didn't even remember when I got home. And I've had some things happen, didn't have my car, didn't have my phone. And I just remember thinking to myself, this isn't the life the Lord has for you. You wake up feeling this emptiness. You know what I mean? You think these things are going to fulfill you. And then you start reflecting back on just seeing everyone else in those moments too, and just being like, you saw them as having fun, but then you look back and you're like, I think they're as empty as I feel, Oh yeah. And it was just a veil had been taken off my eyes of this isn't the life the Lord's called you to live,
Yeah, we're all seeking to cover something or find comfort, and comfort can come in several different ways, and it can be artificial, and so that comfort can be addiction, drinking, partying, because it's artificial comfort or an acceptance and masking, and sometimes facing those other things is pretty hard. So it sounds like 2013 was a big year for you.
It was a really big
was
year.
That kind of like some people say your rock bottom, and you're just like, or did you have to get reminded a few more times since then?
Oh, I mean, I think we all fall down all along the way. I don't think there's ever just a one and done and I am sailing. I think my whole life has been ups and downs. But I will say that year, it was a choice. It's that, I mean, and I don't want to say that it was all in my own doing. The Lord is the one that moved it in me. He's the one that called me to him and showed me a different way and a life that was so much better than what I was living. But I mean, it changed things dramatically for me. I started just pursuing other things that hopefully just aren't worldly,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's amazing when it's true. It sounds like it's truly that you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why CrossFit works in that, is that it takes away there's no instant gratification in CrossFit.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it provides the path. And I mean, Greg Glassman said it best: the greatest adaptation of CrossFit is between the ears. Mm. And so it provides us with that path to do so. Now obviously it can be just as awful and just as slippery as everything else can be. It can become an idol just like everything else can. but moderation is key. But it does kind of give us a blueprint for those things.
Yeah.
So it's helpful in that.
So you've been doing CrossFit. So you decide to start coaching, and what put that in your heart to like coach?
Well, that's a good question. I really think I just loved. I've always been a teacher at heart. I've always loved showing people how to do things. When I learn things, I'm a slow learner. Like I never was the quick athlete. Like, yes, I'm athletic. I can do things, but I wasn't the perfecter of athleticism.
You weren't the person that showed up day one and you're like, what's a ring muscle up? And then jump up and do a ring muscle up.
I was no Mandy Riddle.
Yeah.
Love Mandy. She's amazing. I wish we could all be her. But anyways, I think sorry, remind me again what you just said.
Being an athlete, like
So never was that athlete that just jumped into things.
Yeah.
I had to really work, and when I work, I always am finding a way to be more efficient. So I will get the job done eventually, and I will do it well, and I'll do it better.
Yeah.
But it's going to take me a while, and so I think because I am built that way, I'm really built well to like teach people because I've done like that hard work.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to teach them to skip all those steps that I've already had to take such a long time to try to figure out. So it made me like a coach that could really kind of hopefully help athletes in that way. And
break it down in a way that people can understand and cue. And I just remembered when I first met you.
Okay.
Was at a competition. And Mandy came up to me because you mentioned Mandy. And Mandy's like, both my partners can't do it. And so this girl from Joplin and this other girl from Provision, I guess are going to be my teammates. And we're going to do this competition together. And I was like, oh, cool. So, of course, I'm there cheering you guys on. But it was you and Rachel.
Yep. I remember Rachel.
And all of you guys ended up coaches at the
funny.
gym at some point. So,
Crazy.
But, so what, and the thing I loved about, because I didn't take a lot, I never really was in your classes much because I'm not a person that likes to wake up at 4 a.m. But I do remember there's sometimes that I'd get phone calls at like 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Of course you're going to bring this
Chris,
up.
help, I don't have my keys.
I was a coach. I was a good coach. I wasn't always the most together and that,
not many people are at 4 a.m, but
listen, we don't have to worry about it anymore. So it's nice.
There's a keypad.
We have the keypad.
Or Clint will take a window out
or
or
Clint
break
will
in.
just take the window out.
So nice.
It's all good.
But so there's been some like big things going on health wise, and like I wanted people to get like a background of who Meg is before we really jump into like some of your health stuff that you've been fighting, and like even if you weren't going through what you're going through right now, I think I know I'd still want you on the podcast just because of kind of what kind of person you are and the way that you love and pour into people. I mean, that's one thing, like that's what I strive for, is like when you bring up somebody and they smile, and like I know, and like if I'm like, hey, have you like I guess who I saw today, Meg, and people are like, oh, I love Meg, like that's the kind of person you are. And so it's just, I know that that's something that we love to have on the podcast. And so, but you've been going through some health stuff. So like I was teasing you about like you started like ditching me and stuff at the gym when I started going to TR Fitness. Like what happened?
Oh yeah. Well, first off, I'm super thankful you have me on this podcast. I don't take it lightly, and I really actually it's a really great honor. Well, the only way I can do this is start from ground zero and kind of tell you where things started for me. Really, the reason I hadn't been at the gym is because I've been battling some illness in my life, and it started really for me, which I think for a lot of people, it started back in 2020, which we all know 2020.
I don't think there's a time or a conversation like that's longer than like 15 minutes where I will ever not talk about it.
It's
it's always going to be there.
Yeah. It's changed our lives, everyone's life. But it changed mine. And so I had been that athlete. I'd been I did the gym, I did the competitions. I felt like I really tried to take care of my body, really trying to make all the right health decisions that I feel like I could do at that time, all while being a mom. Big things for me in 2020 is I was getting ready. I graduated nursing school. And I had my little 2-year-old boy. And on top of that, we had entered the fostering system. So there's a lot of good stressors that were in our life, good things, but also things that can take a little bit of toll on life. So
stressors are stressors. Your body reacts either way, good or bad. It's still stress. That's huge. Yeah.
It's huge for any like sickness that we're battling. So it became super revealing. So I got COVID and things just broke loose. I had never been so sick, and you heard about these people getting really sick, you know, but it wasn't the athlete, the person working out, the person eating healthy. That wasn't the norm. But what I experienced for sickness wasn't the same as what other people, that respiratory situation, mine was like all neurological. And so, I started out having these really chronic migraines. Never had a migraine in my life, like never experienced that. But when I say migraine, you probably think of someone that's sitting in the couch in a dark room. Like, I mean, this thing debilitated me where I was vomiting. I could not function. My neck was stiff, couldn't turn my neck. And this went on for months. And
you're like, this isn't fair. I'm doing all these things that I'm supposed to be doing. I'm working out. I'm eating right. I'm like, it was, what the heck?
Yeah, it was super defeating. But the thing that started the whole process was that started happening. I started getting restless leg syndrome. I'm like, I've never had that in my life. So I remember
that's what old people get.
Yeah, like you always hear people like, I can't have my restless leg syndrome, you know, and you're like,
I can't sleep. I got to get the legs out.
Get the magnesium out. And so I'm like, I remember that night I like woke up and I ran to because I was with my son, and like I went to my husband and I was like, babe, something is wrong with my legs. Like I feel like there are bugs crawling on them. And this is like in the middle of having COVID, that 14 day where we're, you know, hunkering down for quarantine, you know? And so, so that started, I started having like night sweats. I ended up having joint pain. So all these things started happening and they just exacerbated. So, I'm going to the gym and I'm getting these injuries that I've never had a problem. I felt like, you know, being a coach, form was pretty big for me. And I know, Chris, like you saw me, like it wasn't like I'm sure at some points when we get tired, every athlete does it. But for the most part, like working out with good form was huge for me. Yeah. And so then I start coming down with back pain and I start hurting my back. I start hurting my like knee, my shoulders start hurting, and I can't pinpoint why.
What you know, specific thing that happened.
Yeah. Right. And so, also like at the same time, I'm having trouble with my cycle. I'm not normal. I'm having hormonal acne. And so I'm at this point, like after a few months in, I'm like, I got to do something. I got to see someone. And so I'm thinking maybe hormonal issues. Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, I knew magnesium played an effect in restless leg, but I'm also thinking, and maybe it's just my hormones. So I go see a functional medicine doctor. And so that was a whole thing in itself. Did labs on me, found out that I was low in progesterone, low in estrogen, magnesium. I was anemic. I could literally pull out my driver's license and show you guys. I was so pale. I literally looked like a vampire ghost. Like I was wondering, I don't know what a vampire ghost is, but a vampire / ghost.
It's like one, boo.
So, but yeah. And so we started on this journey, you know, she's telling me I'm deficient in all these things. And so we start putting me on progesterone and I feel tons better. Like I actually can sleep because I wasn't sleeping. I was having these I was drenching shirts. And so, I'm like, this is a miracle drug. Like I want more of it. I did it. Yeah. This is my problem. And so 6 months go by and we're right back again. My symptoms are getting worse. And so we start upping the progesterone. I even get to the point where I ask my doctor, can I just take this all the time? Because I can't sleep. I can't function. Yeah. When I'm off of it, my acne gets worse. Everything exacerbates. And so
this whole time you're wanting, like, I imagine that someone that has fitness such a huge part of your life for so long, you're just like, but also therapy and mental health and everything is tied around being an athlete, going to the gym. And so you're going, like, the thing that's your community, even the things that like bolster you up and help you, like you're not able to do because you're
and the thing is I didn't know what was going on, and so I'm not really communicating with my community about like I'm, you know, because I'm thinking I'm just being weak or I'm
rub some dirt in it.
I'm mad at my body, to be quite honest, because I've been pushing so hard, and like all of a sudden I can't, and I'm seeing all the people still go, and I can barely make it 2 to 3 days a week without like
they had COVID, they're pushing through it.
Yeah, they're doing great. And so we do this dance around this progesterone for almost 2 years, this up and down, increasing your dose, giving you more. And so now I'm just flooded with progesterone, which it can't be good for anyone, but at the time it was the best thing we knew to make me like asymptomatic somewhat. But I will say when things drastically started changing for me was in 2022, another big year. So we have 2013 was a big year for me. 2022 was my reckoning. And when I mean reckoning, I mean, it's literally,
that's a big word.
Yeah. It literally, I felt like it was going to take me out. So on top of physical illness, I have the stressors. So this is the time I've had my foster daughter for a year. My husband and I have been married for 6.5 years, and we had struggled. To be honest, I thought our marriage wasn't going to make it. Yeah. We were closing up shop. And I also was about to say goodbye to my daughter that I'd had for a year. And I didn't know how I was going to make it.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah. And it is something that you can never prepare for. And so there's a lot of things that were going. I was experiencing heartbreak on a level that I can't really explain. And so, my body started to give up. And like, I don't mean like, no, I wasn't about to die, but it felt mentally like I was about to give up. Also, my body started to go in chronic illness. So I would be sick. Starting in July of 2022, I started to be sick for 6 weeks, like at a time. And then I'd be good for 2 weeks. And then I'd be sick again, upper respiratory infection, 6 weeks. And at this time, this is kind of like people were talking about, like, everyone's sick. There's a sickness going around. But they'd get it once. I would get it. I got it like 3 times. Yeah. And any time someone's little kid was sick, I'm like,
I'm going to
get it. Yeah. And I did. And it's like, I remember thinking, what is wrong with me? Like, I cannot get over it. I can't get through this. My body's not fighting. There is something drastically wrong with me.
Yeah.
And, I had gone, modern medicine has its place, traditional medicine, but I felt like I just wasn't being heard. I was going to my doctor. We ran blood work. I had bronchitis at one point. And the real kicker for me on this point is I started getting lymphedema. So I was having I had a marble sized lymph node in my right lymph node. And it was so painful I couldn't wear a bra. And I remember going to my doctor and I'm like, of course you're thinking like lymphoma, like when you have something going through your lymph system, like
anytime you go to like WebMD, it's like
Google, hello, cancer.
What's the worst case scenario? Well, there it is.
Yeah. And of course I'm looking for a worst case because I'm like, something's up.
Yeah.
And so
you're just searching for a reason. You desperately want there to be an answer.
Yeah. Like how can
there not be? How can it be so sick?
Yeah.
And there not be an answer?
Yeah. But at that point there was no answer.
So your enemy's faceless at this point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so so as I went to the doctor, we're trying to address this lymphedema. I'm doing lymph massage. We're draining. She's like, praise the Lord, she's helping me trying to figure out how to like.
So Sarah, you've come into Meg's life at this point because it was like instant friend kind of thing too.
Yeah, no, she's my soulmate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I met Meg actually October that month.
The reckoning
month. I met her that month, and it was all the Lord. And then we saw her just continually be sick from then on. And then so I start to research, and I feel like everyone thinks my best friend's going crazy, but something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, she is sick. It's not anything, a virus or, high progesterone or her thyroid, like something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so we hit the ground running. I think we started really researching.
Well, sometimes you just need someone to be like, I believe you.
Mm-hmm. I 100%. I was like, she's crazy, but we all knew that, but like something else is going on. So yeah. So we really started looking together, I think in the fall after it was just, you maybe got a little virus or your thyroid. I don't know. Yeah. Everything's fine. We don't know what to tell you. So.
Well, and I think too, after I went to the doctor, we got into the lymphedema situation. We ran blood work. Blood work came back super elevated. My white blood count, like everything was off. And I had been on antibiotics for 10 days.
Yeah.
So something's going to tell you after 10 days of being on antibiotics, there's no reason your white blood count should come up high and your lymphocytes and all of your monocytes off. But the biggest thing is my lymph pain was now moving. So it wasn't just staying on my right side and moved to my left. It had moved to my inguinal lymph nodes.
So your whole lymphatic system is just infected.
And you know it. And that's the thing is like you can feel this thing moving in your body. So in my, I'm like, whatever it is.
It's like from the movies.
Yeah. Well, and for people that don't know anything about the lymph system, so the lymph system is basically like a filter system of the body. And
it runs parallel with your blood.
Yeah. And so like when she's talking about things moving, that's what lymph massage does, is you move things through the lymph system. So the fact that it's moving is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it was very scary. So
and you had started every single night you had the neuropathy, the leg pain, the night sweats, every other day was a migraine. It was a whole systemic, her body was screaming help, help, help. I mean, and it was,
and all of those things are symptoms of lymph.
Something
stuff.
And it was just everything. Every other night there was no break.
Because the body's trying to evacuate something. There's something in it trying to evacuate.
And on top of that, you're going through not just physical, but like family and just emotional on top of everything. So like it's already heavy, but then your body's just like, oh, I'm gonna help. And honestly, like it could even turn into that spiral where like, without those other things, your body could maybe take more time to heal and stuff. But then, or that's going, like, so it spirals.
Oh yeah. They play off each other. I think we totally diminish a little bit the emotional, like our emotional health tying to our physical health. They are so intertwined. And so I think it's super important that we like bring awareness to the fact that we've got to be looking at both fronts when we're looking at health as an overall.
Yeah. It's called homeostasis. I mean, like you have to find the balance.
So this is it. I'm kind of throwing in the towel with the traditional medicine. I've realized, even Sara at this point has kind of mentioned to me, she's kind of been throwing out some ideas of what could be wrong, and I'm kind of putting them off to the side because I'm not ready to face what I think I'm going to have to face. So I find a functional medicine doctor, and I find a place called 417 Integrative Medicine.
Ooh, love them.
And literally has changed my life.
Love them.
Never have met people who genuinely want to get to the bottom of your problem and not just mask it with medication or just mask it, your symptoms, and get you on your way.
Throw pills at it. Or throw pills at
let's
it.
just throw, And so I'm in love. I'm in love with them. Everyone there is kind. And so has been a huge factor in me just trying to get better. So I go in and I talk with my doctor, and she's like, I don't doubt that you have hormonal dysregulation. I actually think that's what you have. But the other thing is I'm going to ask you a few questions. And she started saying, do you get tired in the middle of the day? Do you have night sweats? Do you have anxiety? Do you have, depression? Which things like that are affected from illness, like when you get sickness with something like a tick-borne disease. And she was like, I really think you have a tick-borne disease, and I think we need to test you. And right then I had a flag because Sara had asked me like 2 weeks before this, and I was like, I don't have that. I
haven't been bit, no.
And so
if anything, I bit the ticks.
Yeah. And so so we got me tested, and I tested for positive for Borrelia, which is the bacteria that causes Lyme disease. And I also tested for co-infections of anaplasmosis, Bartonella, and Babesia. And I will tell you something, if Lyme is a monster, Babesia is monster squared, because it's horrible. It's probably the biggest source of all my stuff. So
for those of you, including me, that don't understand what any of those are, can you explain?
Yeah.
I know what Lyme's disease is because it's where you're allergic to limes.
Yeah.
Oh
no.
Good try.
Yes.
Lyme with a Y.
Yeah.
Not an I.
I've seen that a lot. Okay. No, I'm all about telling you because I've been looking into this. All of the things.
See the notes, friends, on the video? See the notes?
No. So,
teachers,
of course, I'm gonna teach you, because when I heard Lyme, I think the last time I heard about Lyme disease was when I was in high school. I'm sure other people have heard about it, but I heard of a guy that got it and literally like almost killed him. And this was back when I was in high school. You know, last time I really paid attention.
Yeah, one of the biggest like celebrities that has it is Avril Lavigne.
Yep.
She has it. Yeah.
And that's
she's a skater girl.
Yeah.
Chicks out there.
Yeah, out there in the studio.
Yes.
She said, "See you later, girl."
So anyways, yeah. So you guys are thinking the same thing. What is Lyme? What is these things you just mentioned, co-infections? This is where I had to dig into a huge, it's just you become a detective when you get sick. And let's be honest, we don't look into things until we have them. And this is where I'm going to encourage people listening, because this disease that you're hearing about is on a rise. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because it's a true fact. CDC has started to record that Lyme disease is on the rise, about 476,000 new cases per year now.
1,000%
yeah.
increase.
Yeah. And so
1,000% increase for those that didn't hear Sarah.
1,000% increase. And also, I mean, we're having warmer seasons. Tick populations they're at an all-time high. So if it's not affecting you, it's probably affecting someone you love, or is going to affect someone you love. And if we don't get our attention on this and understanding what these symptoms can come out, we're going to be really missing taking care of those.
Well, even like tick-borne, like the alpha gel
is huge
like,
right now.
Yeah. Like just people all of a sudden you're like, red meat. Sorry, you're gonna die if you eat it.
It's insane. So Lyme disease, what is it? So it is a disease that it's not, Lyme isn't a thing that is caused in you, right? It's a disease. It's a sum of something that's happening in you, right? So we have, when you get bit by a tick, mind you, it's not just transmitted by a tick. We are called vector-borne. So a lot of people like to call them tick-borne diseases. They're actually vector-borne, meaning they can be transmitted not just through ticks, any blood-sucking insects.
Like
mosquitoes, fleas, anything that can...
Children.
Yeah, I mean, children. And so, depending on the child. And so, so now we've got this thing biting you that has a bacteria, right? So we have Borrelia, and there is 30 plus different types of Borrelia bacteria that you can get infected with a tick, but it doesn't stop there. So now we have Borrelia, which is a bacteria, but then we also have what are called co-infections, which are anaplasmosis, Bartonella, all those things I'm telling you are co-infections, and those are parasites of the red blood cell. So remember how I told you I had that pale looking photo ID? So
vampire ghost,
that thing. So that's why you start connecting dots, right? So why I'm so pale is I'm having these parasites that are feeding off of my red blood cells. So, so you're having these co-infections you have with Lyme. And so Lyme, as you get infected with it, brain fog is also a part of this situation that I have going on.
I might have Lyme's disease, guys.
Yeah, I'm just saying. No, sorry, we are not even close. Okay.
Where are we at?
He's using numbers and stuff.
I know, there's lots of numbers. Okay, so anyways, what is Lyme disease? It's basically a bacteria that starts all these things in your body, these symptoms. And typically a very normal, healthy individual who has a really healthy immune system can keep the burden of symptoms down. So you may have Lyme disease and not even know it. Yeah. But you're able to fight it because you have a healthy immune system.
And
right?
Can the same tick or mosquito bite two different people, but each person will react differently as well.
Exactly. So yeah.
And it might so like I know someone that had Lyme's disease that like they did like a 60-mile bike ride, and then 2 weeks later they couldn't even get through the day without having to lay down and take a nap.
Yeah. I think one thing to remember, like you said, each tick is different. It's carrying different things. So it's going to bite you and you're going to react in a different way. But not only that, you also have other comorbidities that other people don't have. So
and I'm so delicious.
Yeah, and I'm so delicious. I mean, and so it really is very independent. There's no one size fits all with this. And so people react totally different to every disease that they get when they get bit by a tick. And so
something kind of huge with Lyme is it laid what we dormant in her. So probably she was bit years ago, maybe was sick for a little bit. And then, you know, people say for Lyme, oh, look for that bullseye rash. That happens in 9% of people.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, there may be a red patch and then nothing. So you could be bit, it goes dormant because it's a spirochete, so then it just sits there and chills within your body. Well, then when her reckoning happened, you see that happen in Lyme patients where something, stressor, boom, it just ignites it.
So
and
COVID.
COVID.
Did you say marriage?
Marriage. Yeah.
Like stressor. But no, so
Yeah.
you have these people pinpointing when their symptoms started to these huge life-changing
Yeah.
events, and because then it just activated.
It's like it just hits the threshold. Like you've just hit the threshold of it can only have so much, and then it just
Yes,
lights the
right.
fire.
Well, it's a dam, right? So like it starts building up, the water gets bigger, and then all of a sudden, eventually, it's gonna break.
Yeah. Well, let's talk like a little bit more on the spirochete, because she mentioned spirochete, right? And so what that is all bacteria has a different shape. It has a different way that it works and how it works in the body and overtakes. We actually listened on a podcast. He's called Dr. Minkoff, but he is a virologist. And so he actually mentioned like a study they did. They had found Lyme bacteria in Egyptian mummies.
Oh man, that's
so,
crazy.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But what that tells you is this bacteria is sophisticated. It has had years of morphine and years of learning the human body, right? And so what the spirochete does is it actually is in a spiral shape, so it can embed itself into the host cell. And so it actually hides itself in the host cell, and then it creates a biofilm. So what a biofilm is just this ability to hide itself from the immune system and antibiotics. So
Think bubble.
yeah,
Think like space
literally.
bubble.
And then it can go and it will hide itself in your body until your body is at the weakest point.
So does it
You
lay
know?
dormant like a lot of people, like in your spinal cord, like
So-
in the base of your, like
So this
your
thing,
medulla oblongata?
so with the spirochete and borrelia, it likes specific tissue. It likes synovial joints. So remember when I said I'm having joint pain and back pain and getting injured? It likes heart. So night sweats, the heart palpitations I was having in the middle of the night. There we go. And then also it loves nervous tissue. So the neuropathies, the tingling in hands and feet. My eyes diminishing. I mean, there was a point where I went to an eye doctor in like 2021, and he looked at my eyes and he's like, "Do you have hypertension?" when he was looking at the vascularity of my eyes. And I was like, I've never, like, my blood pressure has always been low. My heart rate's always been low.
So is that something like if you stare at it like a screen all day, and then you look up and then like your eye, like, but you're not staring at a screen all day. So like like if I'm looking at my phone or I'm in front of my computer all day, and then finally I'm like, why can't I focus on anything?
Yeah.
But you were just that.
It just, my sight diminished. So like, it was like one day I woke up and I'm like, I can't drive at night. Like I literally, if it was raining, it's horrible. And so you would notice a drastic change. But
That's
looking
just getting
back,
old for me.
yeah, looking back, I can see, I'm like, oh my gosh, like those were all these little signs showing like something is going on. Well, my eyes were being attacked, my like nervous tissue in my eyes. So now we have all these, so like I said, the spirochete, now like in a normal healthy human who doesn't have all these things, your immune system would be fine. But now you have all these other factors. And what we really like want to be focusing on too is you're not just going to be able to get to this thing, like this morphed this morph bacteria that is so smart and that can hide. One thing I want to address is the antibiotics, right? So many things I've heard from people when you have this, they say, well, I Googled it. You should do some antibiotics.
You know.
And I'm like,
You're like, it's the dodgeball king of
Yeah.
diseases. Like,
Okay. So let's like kind of analyze this, right? Like in all good faith. I know they're saying that to be kind of try to get me an answer, you know, but you Googled it for you had 2 seconds to think about Lyme. You Googled it and then you saw antibiotic, right? I've had this for almost half a year, been diagnosed. Like I've looked into it, and trust me, if antibiotics was the right route and I could do 2 weeks of antibiotics and be good,
Yeah.
I would do it. But the truth is from everything I've researched, from the thousands of people on the Lyme page,
Yeah.
our gut is one of our number one immune defenders, and it is important to protect us.
And
if
every single time
Yeah.
you take a dose of antibiotics.
we're killing it.
Yeah.
And so
People don't know. It's so
I know. And don't get me wrong, antibiotics in the right place and time.
Oh no, there's absolutely a place for that.
Praise God, we've had a smart mind to make up these antibiotics, but it's used way too frequently.
And with anything, it can be abused. Just like, oh, this is hard. Let's throw a dart at it. Let's throw an antibiotic.
Well, there's ways to negate the negative benefits if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
you just have to know, or have a doctor that knows.
And at this point for Meg, it was chronic. So you're going to have two different types of Lyme patients. You're going to have the Lyme people that catch it, got the tick bite, a day later they're in the doctor, they can get those antibiotics, and you see a lot of success stories when it's acute and when you catch it early. Meg and the probably millions of other people at this point who have, they've got MS, they've got rheumatoid, they've got Parkinson's. If they're being tested for Lyme, it's chronic and antibiotics won't do anything. And she's at the chronic stage, so
So you find out what you have. So you've named the monster.
We've named him.
So yeah, Lenny. And so how did you feel when you now finally now I have an enemy? Because when the enemy is nameless, faceless, and honestly hopeless, how did you change? How did you square up? How did you move forward when you finally had an enemy to attack?
Yeah, it was a relief. Honestly, that
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It was now I can see who I'm facing, right? So I can start getting answers. And let me tell you, it is, like we talked about, it is no walk in the park trying to figure out where to go, what treatment to do.
Well, it sounds like 20 people are all telling you 20 different things.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna have that with no matter what sickness you do, if you do foster, whatever you do in life, foster care, and
everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it like a butthole. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, and they all stink.
And they all stink.
You had watched this documentary called "I'm Not Crazy, I'm Sick," and it was right there. It was you have all these people who are they've got their diagnosis and they can finally say, I'm not crazy. I'm sick. And and I think that was the relief for you was, see,
I'm crazy for other reasons.
Yeah. And I had experienced, I definitely had family members maybe not believe me fully or,
Well, and the thing is, as family members, they get to see us at our best and worst, right?
Yeah.
So I have family members that I'm just rub some dirt in it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine. I know they love me, but it was really hard in the moment, when you're suffering and it's I promise I'm not lying. But no, I figured out this thing. So, I mean, I'm super thankful. Sarah's came into my life in the midst of chaos and she has stood by me. We are like every other friendship. We have moments, but I have never had a friend love me so much, willing to lay down her life for me, one, and two, she has gone to bat for me. When it comes to this disease, she is my advocate. She is someone that is her and Robert, they are working hard to make sure that I'm taken care of and I'm going to the right place. But I will say 417's been a really great direction pointer for me when it comes to getting treatment.
So when you said you're chronic, does that mean that it's not a Dr. Dre album? That's something that you're gonna face the rest of your life.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what I talked about, that spirochete. Once it gets in your system and in your body, you asked if it gets in your spinal cord. So it gets into your brain. So to be honest, the mental effect it's had on me, I can't say I'm the same person that I was. I suffer through anxiety. I never had it. I definitely have agitation and anger issues. That's kind of hard for me to say on here, but it's the truth, and I am not going to shame. I'm not going to be ashamed. But
it's your reality. I mean, that's the thing is you shouldn't be ashamed of that. I mean, that's, you acknowledge it, but then also then when you have it, you recognize it, and then you could address it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I think is incredibly underrated is, and you kind of started with this earlier, was talking about the connection between your mental and physical health. And, it creates a lot of space when one, you give something a name,
Mm-hmm.
and two, you bring awareness to it, because then you can like step back. And the more you live in it, the more it becomes your daily, the more you're able to be like, you know what? I woke up this morning, and you turn to Sarah and be like, I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just going to need some grace today.
Yeah.
And like, that is humongous
Mm-hmm.
for you and for her and for your husband and for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And like, just to be able to have the space
Yeah.
to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that, perfect, because on that note, when we did get a diagnosis, I had like typed in the hashtag like Lyme disease or whatever, and I found people. I just messaged them on Instagram, and I actually knew a couple other people who had it, like some friends on Instagram, and I messaged them. I was like, what can I do, and how do I support her in this?
Yeah.
Because I think just overall, like, and not just for Lyme, but anybody who has like a chronic illness or any other issue, and you are their person, you are a part of their tribe, how do I support you? Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember, the overarching theme was like, she's gonna have really, really good days and really, really bad days. And I think being in that place where it was like, she didn't have to tell me that morning, hey, give me some grace, because I was like, it's already there, babe. Like, I'm already gonna give it to you, because I have no idea what she's going through, and I wish with every bone I could take it away from her, because especially on those really, really hard days. But it's like, if I just gotta be the punching bag, punch away, baby. Like, and that's hard to say, but it's like, I don't know what else to do other than just, we are here for you, and we're not going anywhere. And there has been some, not to share too much of your life, but like, there are really, there are just a couple, like some darker days where it's like, this isn't the Megan I know, because she's been so defeated, because Lyme has just, I've seen it just take her out, like mentally. And it's just like, I've literally driven to her house, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. And so you can push and push, but like, you know, same with her husband and, you know, those people in her tribe. It's like, push all you want, but we're staying here. And that's the support people for people who are experiencing those chronic illnesses or just chronic battles. Like, you stick and you don't move. If they're going to push, pull closer. So
lean in. That's what I always say.
Lean in's good.
When I think giving something a name is powerful. What is something that surprised you about, because it sounds like you've found a community as well of other people. Like, what is the thing that surprised you when you reached out and found a community of other people that were going through the same thing that you're going through?
Well, I think one thing I want to bring to the table is that this provided such an opportunity for me to share Jesus. I
get it.
I literally
go get it.
I think that's one thing we need to realize, like, when we're facing our suffering as Christ did, like, we have an opportunity. Like, you can stand up and you can know that you probably got punched in the face, and it could be by Satan or by your own flesh. I don't that's to each their own, but you have an opportunity to do something with it. And so I think one conversation we've had a lot is just like, I want to take this and I want to use it for the glory of him. And so any person that I've gotten to talk to, it's been amazing. Like, we talk about Lyme, but it always leads back to Jesus. But I will say the community, it's so nice having, I hate it for the people I talk to that have this. But to know that there's someone on the other side that's like, I get it. Like, I mean, Sarah with all of her might can try to, and Robert with all of his might can try to understand. But when you have someone come to you and they're like, I have never felt this like tired. I have never felt this defeated. They get it. And so that's been really great. I have built up a super great community with the IV nurses at 417. So one of my treatments, there is tons of treatment. We can talk about it if that's something you want to talk about. But one of the things I'm doing is called ozone therapy. And so it takes a toll. I have to get, basically I get IVs every two times a week, and it's not like a tiny one. We're draining blood out of me. So we drain out 200 mils of blood, and then we put ozone in it, because oxygen in its purest form is actually antimicrobial. So we'll put pure oxygen in my blood and put it back in. So it has that effect to help kill out the co-infections, but I have to do that twice a week. And so just so you know, I hate needles. I hated them forever and usually used to pass out at talking about blood. So don't know how I became a nurse. I did, but definitely had a fun experience the first time I got that done. I passed out.
Because those needles aren't small.
They're huge. They're huge because they're
same
blood.
as like plasma
Yeah.
needles.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, we're talking like 18, 20 gauge somewhere around there. So yeah, they're big, but I've gotten over it. And I think that's funny when you constantly get exposed with something that you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's true. Like, and like we can even apply that to things like, with our faith. Like, you're going to get exposed to things all the time that you're uncomfortable with, and you're going to learn to be okay with it.
So I didn't know you had Lyme until recently. Mm-hmm. And do you feel like, because you've made posts on Facebook about overcoming struggles and things like that, but I don't know if you really even named it in some of those then, but like how hard, even now, sharing your story, was this a hard part of your healing or process? Or
oh man, I've been waiting to talk about it. I don't know why. I think the truth is because I'm not a big social media person, and I didn't want the first thing about me getting on social media to be about something that, like a disease that I had. I just wanted it to be about him. And so like my first thought is like, before I give people really big news, I wanted to point them into the place that they need to always go when they get big news. And so, but no, honestly, I think I've been just waiting, and I honestly, this has been really great for me because I haven't known how to share it or put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, how do I put it? Like, just like a story. Hey, I got Lyme. You know what I mean? Like, hey guys. And so
I saw you at the gym. I was like, you should be on the podcast. And you're like, well, and I was just like, this is a chance for you to share your story. And you guys both looked at each other. And Sarah, you were like, do it.
Yeah, get her on that podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always pushing me to do the hard things.
Jesus, talk about Lyme. People probably need to hear both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what do you feel like sharing it with a broader audience? Like, what was the scariest thing about it for you?
Oh, the scariest thing. I think I don't want to point people in the wrong direction, but I don't see how that could be possible. I'm just sharing my story the way I experienced it. So I don't feel like there was anything super scary about it other than getting in front of a mic. But I mean, you guys have made it awesome.
Terrifying.
You guys are so scary.
Yeah, and we recorded it.
No, but the biggest motivator for me is that there's someone out there right now that feels like they're crazy. Or that knows they're sick, but doctors are telling them they're not, or they're getting labs back that are perfectly normal. Because I had labs come back too that were normal, and so they're going on thinking there is something wrong, but no one is really giving them the time of day.
Yeah.
And so, like, honestly, my advice would be is you don't stop until you find someone to listen.
Yeah.
And that means if you have to go to 13 different doctors, go to 13 different doctors. Don't accept that you, like, them saying you're not sick if you really feel like you're sick, because you probably are.
I think it says a lot about you, because I know a lot of people, they're just like, well, I guess this is my forever now.
Yeah.
And they give up, or they fall in despair. I mean, someone that, like, for me, that like I've suffered from a lot of anxiety and depression in the last few years, I'll be honest. And my doctor's just been throwing pills at me. And like, I know, like, so we work out every Thursday morning, and I know, like, I'll come in and be like, hey, guess what the new cocktail is?
Like, and how does that make you feel?
Yeah. and then I go in to go get ready for my Bible study at 6 a.m, and you and Jen keep working out, and I'm like, and I know Jen's just like, and you guys are like, just you something else. So it's like, but I say all that just because, like, I think times it was just like, instead of keep searching and keep finding, like, we just give up. And that's like, well, there's this stand-up comedian that does a joke where it's like, you hit a certain age and something starts hurting, and your doctor's like, well, it's just going to do that the rest of your life. Like, I think, like, you get a certain point where you're like, well, I guess this is my reality.
Oh, this makes me so excited, because it's something that has made me realize we accept that growing old, like, not gracefully, is the norm. Yeah. And it's not a norm. Like, we can grow old with grace, and it doesn't have to be this thing when you're like, I turned 30 and it's miserable. Oh, I turned 30. It's miserable. Like, these are the best years of your life. Yeah. Let them be. But the thing is, we got to get to the root cause. So one thing that I've learned that I have taken away from this is, it's really big for me. And I'm, like, you mentioned it, but mental illness. I have learned so much about gut health and, like, this leaky gut syndrome. And if anyone out there is struggling with mental anxiety or anything, mental disorders, there is leaky gut syndrome. And this is where we are taking in so many carbs and so much processed food that our body, like the acidity in our stomach, isn't normal.
There's a really good Netflix documentary out there, and it's a Netflix documentary, but so grain of salt, but it does do a really good job talking about what that looks like and how these bad bacteria can get in there and they feed.
What's it called?
I don't remember off the top of my head. If you something like that, some gut. If you go on Netflix and you look, I don't have Netflix on my phone, so if you go on Netflix and look and just search for leaky gut or something like that, it pops up. It's really cute. It's like little felt figures.
Yes,
it's actually really, really cute. And I mean, that again, Netflix documentary, but so grain of salt.
Through the lens of that,
I was pleasantly surprised on how it explained the whole process to the layperson.
Yeah,
that doesn't know.
Yeah.
So go check that out if you're interested.
Yeah. So Meg, what's your goals now moving forward? Like you're sharing your story here, which I feel honored that you considered that. I mean that's what the podcast is about. Living unbroken. No matter what we get hit with, whatever challenges that we face, even how broken we feel, we got to live unbroken. We got to get up, keep moving, be relentless in what we do. And that sounds like is how you've attacked this, even at your pit of despair, like that reckoning. I mean, those are big words that like Avengers movies use. Like, so moving forward, what's your long term here?
Yeah. Well, my long term is to keep finding treatment. I'm gonna be honest, like I'm still on my journey of trying to figure out what's gonna work. But my goal is I'm gonna try any and all things that are feasible for us, so I can hopefully help someone else.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about it more. Like this is a perfect way to get my feet wet, so I can start talking about it. And the more we bring awareness, the more we're willing to talk to our friends and being like, hey, like, just this is my story. Use it as you will, but like it's gonna help somebody. The more we talk, we can't keep things to ourselves. You know? So it's the whole point.
Yeah, there's the more we share. I found like even with my weight loss and certain things, like the more I share my journey, it's amazing how many people you touch and you can help.
And you're on the right path. You're leading with Jesus.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, because there is a lot within like the community, like you say the Lyme community or whatever. Like I don't have it. I can't relate to it. The things Meg wakes up with every day. If I'm able to like walk in there to these people and be like, hey, like, so sorry you're going through that, but like Jesus loves you. I can't relate. And so
they're like, thanks, bro.
I know. So like really truly like to see this as like an opportunity for her to be this more relatable, just safe person within a community that people are just hurting and have no hope. And she can talk about the best hope in the world, and people are going to like, I just feel like listen, because like you have what they have, and you also have maybe what they don't have, and that's Jesus. So I hate that you have it, but
Well, it's just incredible to like think that you've come on here and you've talked about these really, really dark things and these things that just almost killed you, to be honest. And now to think that you've gone through all those things and not by your own will. I mean, you got through it because of Jesus and what you have and your faith and those kind of things, and you wouldn't have made it. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest.
No.
Without it, I think we can all agree to that. But and then you have people that don't have that, and like there's just a gap. Yeah. And you get to fill it. Yeah. And that's just really cool.
I'm honored.
It's just really cool.
I'm really honored.
So, listeners, if you how would someone find Meg? If like, do you have you said you're not a huge Insta or you're a social media.
Obviously, we need to get together and we need to start working on this Instagram thing.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So
because I'm learning too, but I've learned some stuff.
Well,
so.
and I say that just because like you're sharing this story now, and so like sometimes like when we had the doctor on that had cancer, who was Molly Greenwade.
See, I have a purpose here too.
Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah.
All brains here.
Yeah, I could look someone in the face and like coach them and tell you their Fran time and stuff like, but sometimes I can't say their name. So
it's a teacher thing. It's just a teacher thing.
But Molly's just the ability when she shared her cancer story, and especially as a doctor who treats cancer, like how many people reach out and just like people going through disease and or feeling alone or not listened to. Sometimes it just takes someone being like, I believe you.
Yeah.
And so
Here we are.
well, if you can believe, we're at an hour. One of the things I was talking to Meg before the podcast, and she's like, what kind of questions? And I was like, the only question we really asked there towards the end is, if you had to go back and look Meg, and I don't know if you want to do 2013 Meg, 2020 Meg, or 2022 Meg.
Pick your poison.
Or what advice would you give Meg now? Because you're still walking through it. You're and I think you will the rest of your life. I mean, you'll have more tools in your tool belt. But what advice would you give those earlier versions of you?
I probably, at least 2020 Meg. There's no way I could go back to 2013 Meg. But 2020 Meg, I would say, believe your intuitions. Don't base reality off of other people's reality, and be willing to understand that things aren't always going to be a sprint. Life's a marathon. Sickness is a marathon sometimes, and your walk with Jesus is a marathon, and you got to be willing to take the hard hits and maybe fall down but get back up, and that's what it's all about. So
That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. Yes. Sarah,
What's up? Chris.
real quick, someone that's walked through this journey with someone, what advice would you give the 2020 version of Sarah, or someone that's
I didn't
getting
know Meg in 2020.
sorry 2022
2022.
version of Sarah? Sure you did. Soul sisters, remember?
I
You
know.
just hadn't met yet.
Soulmate, yes.
What advice would you give those people that are
The
hearing
support
the support? Yeah.
person, I would say, buckle up.
Buttercup.
Buckle up and don't leave. I think
it's
when
easy
somebody,
to run, right?
Huh?
It's easy to run.
Yeah. Well, I can't run because my ankles, but
She's right, actually.
I'm right. I don't run.
She doesn't run.
I literally don't run. I hate it. It's the worst. But someone told me when I was reaching out and being like, how do I do this? How do I support her? What can I do? They, one of the girls straight up said, be ready for change of plans day to day, but just be there.
Yeah.
And so I think for Meg, as much as like she's wanted to push me away, because she's even said like, I don't want you guys around this. Like, you guys don't deserve this. You don't deserve this version of me. Even like, she would say that to her husband, like, that you guys deserve better, but it's just like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so you be ready for those hard days, and you praise God for those good days, and just, remind them you're not alone.
It doesn't
You'll never
define
be
you.
alone.
It doesn't
No.
define.
She's not. Yeah, it's not. It's like I look at her and it's like, ew, Lyme. Ugh.
Yeah.
No, it's like
I do, but
yeah. It's not. You're
too
not.
many
You're
lemons.
not. You're not Meg with Lyme. Like you're my Meg bag. Like, and I don't see Lyme in her. Like it's, So yeah, it doesn't define you. But just you don't leave. You stay put. Like I said, they're gonna push, but you just pull in, and So
Hold on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're gonna hate it. They're gonna be like, no, I don't want your help. Well,
Yeah.
I'm coming over to wash your dishes, so get over it.
Yeah.
That
guys,
was slick, by the way.
Yeah.
The way you just like slid
you're
that
like,
over
just
there.
like, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, thank you. Your time is a gift. And if you guys, like, subscribe to the podcast, reach out if you have questions about, or even just need someone to be like, hey, I think I'm going through something. You got 4 people right here that'll just be like, hey, like, people care about you, people love you, and then turn to your faith, and on the bad days rely on him, and on the good days praise him. So
Amen.
but Meg, Sarah, thank you so much.
It's been great.
Do you have anything to add?
No, this is good stuff.
All right.
Some of my favorite work right here.
Yeah.
Kingdom work.
Yeah.
Right. Every day.
All right. So listeners, like, subscribe. Hope you like this video format.
Hey.
It's first time I'm looking at you guys in the camera. That reminded me, I'm 50. Like I feel like I have to do an awkward ending because we're doing.
No, we do the clap.
You want to just
No,
clap?
yeah, like
We end with the
we
clap.
end with the clap.
End with the clap.
No, we can. All right. Well, like always, we always say we end with the clap. Remember to live unbroken.
To be relentless.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, that's good.
Gosh.